Hi, my name's Emma and let's talk spooky stuff. Welcome back to my channel. Last week I did a fun video, I think it's fun, on horror movies that need to be remade, which was a very bold title. I'm so happy with the response and I loved reading all of your comments. You had some really interesting answers. In fact, a lot of you said Hellraiser, which is being remade currently, but I thought that was really interesting because I'm a huge fan of the original. And apparently people just like the concept but don't think the original delivered as well as it could have, which I thought was interesting. I didn't know that. If you did not check out part 1, definitely check that out first. But when I was going through the comments, I got this amazing comment from my ghoul, June, who is always so supportive in the comments, so thank you so much, June. Bloody good June said, I would love to hear your take on non-horror movies that could be remade into horror, and I thought that was a perfect part 2 to my first video, and today we're gonna do that. So today we're gonna talk about the rarest of remakes, which is any other genre being transformed and remade into a horror movie. I have to change my approach this time because last time I spoke about movies that didn't quite reach the full potential, or some of the movies that didn't reach the full potential coming back and getting a redo or a remake. But because we're using any genre, I think the idea is to take unique and interesting aspects and see how they can bend into darkness. So not necessarily a drama or comedy that flopped, but choosing films that have unique premises and with a slight tonal change, it could delve into a traumatic experience, therefore horrific horror. So let's do some genre bending and see where we land, but I am gonna warn you, I'm about to ruin your childhood, maybe. This next one is something that I've always thought about, and doing this video has really sparked it. So let's talk about Drop Dead Fred. This is a comedy, drama, fantasy from 1991, and honestly, it's always been a little bit of a horror to me, even if it was not meant to be. The film stars Rick Mayall and Phoebe Cates, and it's about a girl who grows up with an imaginary friend called Drop Dead Friend, who is always getting her into trouble. But one day her mother finds a way to contain him, locking him away. Many years later, as an adult, her life is falling apart, and she unleashes Fred again out of desperation and loneliness. But it doesn't take long before she realizes her mistake. If you haven't seen this movie, Fred is crude and disgusting, kind of like Beetlejuice. So it'd be very easy to take the horror-y, which is horror comedy, route with this one. But I think we bump it up a notch, and with all of the pranks that Frank does, we change that into kills. So the plot now changes to her witnessing her imaginary friend murdering others only to have him locked away and then somehow resurface. In the movie, he was locked away in a box, so if we could do something like that, it's feeling very Hellraiser a little bit with the box, the puzzle, and maybe we'll just do, for simplicity, somehow that box gets into a garage sale and another family opens it. But she is the only one who could see him, so when he is released, maybe she starts putting together the pieces of the puzzle, seeing him on TV where others can't, and in turn, she's the only one who could defeat him. This is kind of like The Invisible Man meets Lights Out. But unlike The Invisible Man, we would see Fred just as she does. Plus, I think we can all agree that Drop Dead Fred is just too good of a title for a film, and we need to give it another spin. Next, let's go surrealist with my favorite stoner comedy of all time. I'm not usually into stoner comedies, but this one, it's just so good. I'm talking about Smiley Face. Actually, I know exactly why I love this film. It's because Anna Faris, she's just perfect in it. So that's my one condition. We have to keep her in the movie. The original film is about Jane, and of course, the pun is not lost on me. Jane is an aspiring actress who just can't get it together. She lives in LA with her roommate Steve, and one night, Jane finds cupcakes left over in the fridge from a party Steve had with his friends the night before. She eats them all at the same time, and I'm sure you can guess what happens next. Once she's high as a kite, she recounts a list of what she has to do that day. And as the audience, we go along with her as she makes awkward, high as fuck mistake after mistake. It's like one long, strange episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where it's just cringe and awkward and you want to stop it, but you just can't help but laugh. But most of you may know there's two ways this trip can go. You can either be mellow or it can get dark real quick. Think climax, but with Anna Faris, but she's alone and you're alone with her as she wanders the streets of LA just trying to hold it together. And we could always make the switch to something else for more of a visual statement, something a little bit more psychedelic, if you know what I'm talking about. Add in some questioning of reality, possibly she is haunted by a past trauma. Smiley Face with bubbly, quirky Anna Faris turns into a waking nightmare. Also, just for a very stark and interesting change, make this shot all during the day and nothing at night. So although it can be aesthetically pleasing, I want it to be really raw, really gritty, and just really uncomfortable. It's meant to be completely brutal and hard to watch, maybe even tiptoeing into compliance. Okay, that was a heavy nightmare, so we'll go into something a little bit more easy. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna let you off the hook. Get ready, because my next idea is maybe my favorite. It's Amelie. What if the 2001 romantic French comedy was a horror movie? The award-winning film is the whimsical tale of Amelie, a shy waitress whose childhood was stunted by her overbearing father, causing her to turn inwards and create a world of fantasy. Now, as an adult, she finds a lost treasure and returns it to the former owner of her apartment, which unlocks a feeling of joy and accomplishment in helping others. Now she dedicates her life to helping her neighbors. I mean, you can kind of already see where I'm gonna go with this. The suppression in the childhood, no interaction with others. Amelie is considered cute, quirky, and above all innocent. I think we flipped this to a peeping Tom movie. Amelie, who has not been allowed to have a life of her own, now lives as an adult obsessed with her neighbors. Later in the film, we find out how she was able to gain her independence. She killed her parents. And maybe we start off with this sweet Amelie stereotype and it becomes a twisted tale where we thought she was the hero, but really she's the cause of chaos in her neighborhood. And I'm talking about single white female stalker. She is just a major creep and very obsessive, which would be the message is to not judge a book by its cover, and putting people in these stereotypes or in boxes as being cute and quirky and innocent can be quite harmful. And we can even keep the original tagline, which is one person can change your life forever. Okay, onto some survival horror. One of the most inspiring movies I've ever seen. 127 hours. It's also the best setup for a survival horror movie. I loved this film. I watched it twice in the cinema. The Sigur Rós score, chef's kiss. The movie is directed by Danny Boyle and it's based on a true story which was turned into the book Between a Rock and a Hard Place, which is an autobiography about Aaron Ralston, a man that became trapped in the Utah desert between two rocks for 5 days. The movie depicts James Franco as Aaron as he fights for his life for 127 hours. Desperate to survive, he must do the unthinkable. I can't show you it, just look it up if you want to, you sicko. I can tell you, if you have not seen the film, they do not spare you any gore. It's a really horrific moment. The movie itself, though, is inspirational as the main character reflects on his life and finds out what's important. With a slight tonal shift, it is easily a horror movie, and I'm sure the survivor probably feels the same. We just need to amp up the tension slightly, the danger, and it's a harrowing tale, but just for another audience. Okay, the next one, your childhood again, but don't worry, I'm pretty sure you saw this one coming. We're gonna talk about Willy Wonka. Willy Wonka is the classic story of wonder and greed, and since we have already had a remake and a prequel on the way, I think we could make time to turn it up a few notches. Based on the book, the movie is about a poor boy who wins the golden ticket to a tour at the whimsical Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, where other winners are picked off one by one. I mean, basically, it's already a horror movie, but we're gonna do a slight twist to it. Instead of having the obvious villain, which would be Willy Wonka, we're gonna have the villain that everyone has been roaring online about. We're gonna focus this on Grandpa Joe. You know, the dude who's apparently bedridden for 20 years while Charlie's parents work to keep him comfortable. But as soon as Charlie wins that ticket, suddenly he's up dancing and ready to go. People hate Grandpa Joe. So instead of the obvious Willy Wonka as the quirky villain, we have Grandpa Joe who becomes the real baddie. He is the one who tempts and lures the other children to their demise, killing them along the way, wanting Charlie to be the sole survivor at the end, but then maybe turning on him. Willy Wonka has always been towing the line of horror, so how long do we have to wait? And the last film, 500 Days of Summer. 500 Days of Summer is a tough pill to swallow. Am I the problem? Am I the drama? This comedy romance with musical productions is about Tom, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who falls for Summer, played by Zooey Deschanel. The problem is that the pixie manic dream girl is that just a dream, because he falls for what he thinks they are, and in reality, she never loved him. The film has an interesting way of painting the narrative where we see it from Tom's eyes, thinking it's a love story when Summer was really just never that serious about Tom, but he just doesn't want to listen and he wants to live in denial. And this is where you think maybe the obvious turn into horror would be that Tom gets violent and it gets very almost maniac. And instead of the cold, depressing reality that's the end of the film, we have something that's a little bit more brutal and bloody. But you would be wrong, because I want to change it again. Because the whole idea of the film is looking through Tom's eyes at what he believes she is and they are as a relationship. We can do some Wicker Park action and flip the script on Tom, where he finds out something about Summer that makes her so disturbing and just changes everything that he loved about her. And it becomes him trying to get away from her, but also he's in denial because he wants to be in this loving relationship with the woman that he thought she was, but she's not really that person. Now his memory is tainted and he must choose to either stay in denial or face the facts and call the cops. It's like, how long can he stay in denial or admit the truth to himself? What her secret is totally up to you. Let me know what you think her secret should be down below. I don't want it to just be like a stalker obsession. I think it should be something really dark. But maybe we'll keep that for a surprise for when it comes to our screens. Let me know what you want to see remade from any other genre into horror. There's so many good ones. It's just very interesting to think how you could twist it. I'm sure a lot of people are going to say Home Alone, but I love the original so much. I really wanted to pick films that I do enjoy the original of, but I wouldn't mind being remade, where a lot of my really favorite films I think are perfect in the genres they're in. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. It does help me and it lets me know that you like these kinds of videos. And if you'd like to subscribe, I'd love to have you here. I'm trying to hit 100K sometime, anytime. So I would love to have you here supporting me. I do new videos every single week talking about horror movies and thrillers. If you do know a friend who likes horror movies or thrillers or dark cinema, please recommend them my channel. That really does help me out as well. I hope you're having a fantastic day and I can't wait to see you all very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.